You know that feeling, right? You're in a room, you help create this absolutely brilliant strategy. It's got vision, it's ambitious, and then you watch it just fizzle out before it ever really gets going. It's such a common frustration. Well, today, we're going to fix that. We're going to cut through all the complexity and give you a really clear, actionable path to turn your vision into actual results. Okay, let's get into it.
So let's start with the big question. Why do so many great plans fail? Most of the time, it comes down to what people call the strategy execution gap. You know what I'm talking about. It's that huge, frustrating space between the awesome goals decided in the boardroom and the actual day-to-day work that's happening on the ground. But here's the thing. Closing this gap isn't about having a more complicated strategy. Nope. It's about having a simpler, much more connected way of putting it into action.
And that brings us to the real solution here, this idea of cascading your strategy. Now, I know that might sound like just another piece of corporate jargon, but it's not. It's actually a super disciplined process for translating that high-level vision down through every single level of the organization. The whole point is to create total alignment, making sure that everyone, from the C-suite right down to the frontline employee, is pulling in the exact same direction.
Now, take a look at this. This visual just nails it. It shows you exactly how this works. Up at the top at Tier 1, you've got your big company-wide strategy. Then that gets translated or cascaded down to Tier 2. That's your departments, your different business units. And finally, it flows all the way down to Tier 3, which is all about the teams and the individuals doing the work. This creates something called a line of sight, and it's so powerful. It means every single employee can see the direct link between what they do every day and where the company is trying to go. This is how you build real alignment.
Okay, so to make all this cascading stuff actually work, you need the right tools. Let's just clear up two terms you've probably heard thrown around a lot: OKRs and KPIs. Think of OKRs, that's objectives and key results, as your roadmap. The objective is your destination, something big like become the #1 choice for our customers. The key results are the signs along the highway that tell you you're on the right track. Now, KPIs, or key performance indicators, they're more like the speedometer in your car. They're just specific numbers that measure how you're performing right now. So, if your big objective is customer loyalty, a super important KPI to watch would be your client retention rate. See? They don't compete with each other, they work together to give you the full picture.
So how do you come up with KPIs that actually mean something and aren't just a waste of time? It doesn't have to be this huge, complicated process. Here's a really simple 4-step path. First, just start by looking at your industry. What are the standard things to measure? But don't stop there. Step 2, think about the inputs. What actions and processes in your business actually make that number go up or down? Third, you got to figure out where you're going to get the data and make sure it's reliable. And finally, this one is probably the most important of all. Establish clear ownership. A KPI without a person's name next to it is just a number on a dashboard. Nobody's accountable and nothing ever happens.
All right, to make this path even easier, let's talk about the common mistakes, the traps you want to avoid. Look, if a KPI isn't directly tied to your big strategy, it's just noise. But the biggest trap of all, for sure, is the second one on this list: measuring what's easy instead of what's important. For example, it's super easy for a marketing team to measure likes on a social media post. That's a vanity metric. It feels good, but does it really drive the business? Probably not. What's important is measuring something like the customer conversion rate from that post. That's an actionable metric. Don't get lost in a sea of data you can't actually do anything with.
So, let's bring this all home. We've talked about that gap between strategy and execution. We've talked about the power of cascading your vision down through the whole company and the tools you need to measure what truly matters. The path is pretty clear, right? So now the question isn't really about understanding it anymore, it's about doing it. So I'll leave you with this. What is the one metric that you can start acting on this week to begin to bridge that strategy gap in your own organization?